to describe the Canary Islands in a 25-30-minute session. It wouldn't do it justice, and I'm not here to describe the 7 islands in great detail because it wouldn't do it justice. But I would like you to come away today with a few bullet points of why you should be considering organizing events on the Canary Islands and the added value of doing so on the Canaries. I'll launch into my presentation in order to have a guide. Where am I? Can you see this?
Nope.
No?
No.
Why?
Joys of technology.
Yes. Why do we test this and work? And then here we go.
Yeah, perfect. It's coming on.
That's better.
Fantastic.
Okay. I could spend 3 days on each island, but that's not the point. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our company. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the islands and what can be done on them. A bit about why it's a good idea to come onto the islands to organize events. There's a piece of news which is really exciting, which I'll leave to the end and relates directly to budgets for meetings and incentive organizers. And I'll close with a very small wrap up. For you to get a context, I'm half Dutch, half Spanish. I've got 2 daughters. I was born and bred in the British educational system. That's why my English is what it is. I have no excuse. And I've been working with 10 Travel since 2005. My background is hotel management. And out of boredom with hotels, I organized many events in 4- and 5-star hotels. I decided to jump into agency work, and I've never looked back. I'm here to grow the American, German, and Dutch and Scandinavian markets. Being half Dutch, I speak the language. I'm here to maintain the already existing UK market, which we have, and to increase it if that was possible. I've always worked very hard at trying to explore the smaller islands and what we can do there. And obviously in COVID times, we've gone into full digitalization as we monitor also the supply chain, which is very important for us. The service we deliver is based on the good suppliers we have. And in these times, we see a lot of things happening, which we are trying to monitor and keep our heads on. And in the meantime, I try and have fun organizing the events I do. 10 Travel is a member of the Gran Canaria Convention Bureau and of the Tenerife Convention Bureau, and has been for many, many years with a consolidated reputation. And we are founder members of Canarias M.I.C.E, which is a newly born association defending the interests of all the suppliers on the island that are in some way linked to the incentives and conference business. This grew last year. It's been in the running for a couple of years now, but it came about last year. And the whole idea is that we facilitate venues, that we facilitate different venues and different places to be able to organize events and to make the sometimes long bureaucratic process necessary to organize in certain locations much easier. So there's a big lobby there on Gran Canaria, on Lanzarote, and some of the smaller islands have joined us too. And the piece of news I'll give you at the end relates to that directly. A very short history. 10 Travel has been around since 1983. It was founded by John Lucas Sr. The agency then, as a family-run business, went straight into mainstream tour operating and shore excursions for cruises. Very soon, we opened offices in Gran Canaria and Lanzarote. And as from the 1990s, we started organizing what nowadays are considered large-scale events for the corporate market. We moved away from purely as a family-run agency, we moved away very quickly from being purely that, and we invested heavily in patrimony and real estate. And I'm letting that fall. It's at one of my points later, but I think nowadays in the current situation, that is something to take on board as a big positive from 10 Travel. As shore excursion organizers, we've organized a shore excursion for the likes of the Britannias, the Queen Marys. We are agents for P&O, for the Carnival Group, for Disney Cruises. Say we have 50% market share on the Canarians for them. And in 2006, we organized 1,200 people from Yahoo Europe Straight out of shops, we have a new corporate offices, and we had their European conference here, and that's the largest event we've had on the Canary Islands and Tenerife specifically. And as I mentioned at the end of the slide, the show must go on because after COVID, we'll still be around. John Lucas, the founder, he's got one thing to say: sales go up and down and service stays forever. And that's something that stayed with us right from the beginning. In the good and bad times, we've always stuck to our clients, and I think the reputation we've built up over time has been a product of his vision. We try and send that message out to anyone who comes on board with us and works with us. As a very small summary, John family is very much el padrino, the godfather in the family, and he's treated, doesn't mean he kills anyone, but he treats everyone extremely fairly, his staff and his clients. He's always been a great advocate for reliable services being delivered and being transparent in good and bad news to our clients. And that's what brought about always creative solutions within budget. The result of that has always been that we've created fantastic relationship with suppliers, that we provide very good services on site based on those great rates and the relationship we have with suppliers. We're very well known on the islands as being excellent payers, and that brings an all-round satisfaction, not only for our clients, but also for suppliers, which gives us the platform to build on. This is part of the team, or most of the team. As you see, John Sr. in there, but John Jr. is very much involved. William and Miriam, daughter and the eldest son, are involved in the family. And then we've got different people in the areas of tour operating, shore excursions, myself, and our office mascot, Clooney, who comes along and helps us around once in a while. He's part of the team too. These are the three pillars to our company. M.I.C.E, that's my direct responsibility. We are active in markets globally. We have no specific preference, and we organize events for all types of agencies and corporate event managers all over the world. But not only those. I wouldn't like you to come away thinking that the corporate market for us or M.I.C.E is just that. We organize a lot for non-profit organizations. We've got agreements with different universities in the UK who we organize geology field trips, for example, on the different islands where first or second year students spend a week with us, and we design tailor-made programs for them to get an introduction to their courses, and to follow up on what they do. As I've mentioned before, cruise representation, those are the types of clients we have currently, and all we are doing now is hoping for them to come back to see us, because they're all imports. And then we have a small pocket of mainstream tour operating, if you like, for small specialized agencies, the likes of what you see on screen. It's not a market segment we ambition, but it's one that over time we've grown simply because we've attracted some very good clients, some of which have come through the M.I.C.E sector, the different relationships linking people up there, and we've treated them well over time, and it's a business we don't say no to. I want to stress again the fact that Ten Travel is not only a reliable agent, but it's also a solvent and secure one. As I mentioned before, we have a patrimony in excess of €4 million on the island of Tenerife. That's what we've invested in, and I want to drive this point across, because in COVID times I'm very conscious of the problems that agencies and corporate event managers might have in the UK, trusting or relying deposits, advance payments, and you name it, for groups happening at the end of 21 into 22 and 23. Apart from our insurance policies, we have patrimony, and we can offer you the security of an operation which is under no circumstances in jeopardy despite COVID. And that's something I want to drive home today. It's important for us, for you to realize. That's the kind of patrimony we're looking at. In this case, this is an old colonial mansion, which is open to the public, and it can be visited in the north of the island of Tenerife. On a good day, it attracts roughly 400 to 500 people. On a bad day, roughly 150. In COVID times, 0. So we're looking forward to that changing. And then we have rental homes, sorry. I apologize. We have vacation homes, which we rent out to longer and shorter term stays, which we've invested in, and that is part of our portfolio. Let me dive into the Canary Islands. And as I said right at the beginning, I don't ambition to go through the nitty-gritty of every single of the 7 islands. But for those of you who have never been here, we're only 4.5 hours flight away from Northern Europe and the UK, with an average daily temperature of 22, 23 degrees throughout the year. And I insist throughout the whole year. It's our daily temperature in December, but it's roughly that in June and July. And a distance of what, 4,200 kilometers from the UK. It's relatively, let's call it short, medium haul. And the proximity to Morocco makes us a melting pot in so many ways between Africa, South America, and Europe. We've had European tourists here since the 1960s. We are 100 kilometers away from the Moroccan coast, the African coast, and we've got a great influence from South America in terms of gastronomy and culture and music, which makes us a melting pot, and I think is what makes the Canary Islands attractive to people coming out from Northern Europe. There are 4 national parks on each of the 7 islands, one in La Palma, La Gomera, Lanzarote, and Tenerife. There are 4 UNESCO sites, and there's a hope spot for cetacean life declared by Mission Blue. I drive this home because it's not that well known. The Canary Islands are really a hub for everything that happens in the water. Rorquals, pilot whales, spinner dolphins, bottlenose dolphins, you name it, they're found here. And a lot of the activities we offer are centered in the water. It's what people come out to do and what they love doing when they come out here. And it's a huge added value, not just to spend a half day on the water and have a few drinks. There's a lot of informative, tailor-made information which can be driven home to clients, and which they find culturally appealing, not just as an activity or a recreational activity. And the 7 islands have a huge diversity of landscapes. You have Lanzarote as a volcanic paradise. You've got the arid Fuerteventura. You've got the lush forests of Tenerife, Gran Canaria, La Palma, and even El Hierro. You have the different coniferous areas as you go up from coast to national parks in the top of the islands. There's a massive diversity, and that's what gives us the base to build on when we're organizing meetings and incentives. It gives us a lot on offer. What kind of things are on offer? As I mentioned before, there's a lot to do on the water. If we divide those activities into mountain-based and sea-based, anything from jet skiing to kayaking to trekking to team building activities up in the mountains and by the water. I wouldn't know how many Olympic Games or Olympic extravaganzas we've done on beaches, and how many different activities we can combine at altitude within the space of 3 hours once people have left their conference center. Again, the possibility of hiring different vessels to go out on the water is huge. But then we have the options of jet skiing, kayaking, or scuba diving, and everything associated going on the water all year round. I insist. This can be done in June and July, but it can also be done in December, January, February. The waters are a bit cooler in the winter months, but nothing that wouldn't be appealing to jump into at any time of the year. Surfing schools, rafting, again, beach Olympics. The sailing activities are extremely popular. We can hire smaller catamarans and sailing vessels and all types of different vessels to go out onto waters. And then the activities associated with water sports from any of the or many of the beaches in most of the islands. Of course, when you leave the coast, within most of the islands, within 15-20 minutes, you start climbing and that offers you a completely different landscape and offers you a completely different way of enjoying activities. Combining jeep safaris with trekking is the norm. It's something people enjoy doing. Anything from quad biking to mountain biking is also possible, and I insist on all the islands. The smaller islands have slightly less infrastructure, and I wouldn't claim to say that all the islands have exactly the same amount of options or alternatives, but most have quite a few. And the ones I'm showcasing here are to be found on those. That's not me dancing, by the way. It's a way of illustrating that we have not only those venues and locations associated to hotels, which there are, and there's a massive 5-star and 4-star base on all the 7 islands. But we have some very quirky and different places to organize things. What I'm not going to do is offer you thousands of slides, but I'd like you to be aware that, for example, in the south of Gran Canaria, Expo Meloneras is the Canary Islands' largest conference center. It is also based smack in the middle of a series of hotels. And when I say hotels, I mean hotels which are within walking distance. Walking distance means 2 minutes walk out of the reception. You have 5-6 different properties that walk into Expo Meloneras. A very interesting location to consider when there are larger events going on. This, for example, is the auditorium. It's the Opera House in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, in the capital of the largest island, the one which I'm talking to you from. This is the back of the auditorium. The inside obviously is extremely quirky, but we organized an event here not that long ago, pre-COVID, which was a cocktail and a dinner inside, smack in the middle of the capital. A lovely venue and 30 minutes drive away from the main hub of accommodation. Clients usually say, I want, you know, we went to Edinburgh, we went to a castle and we had dinner there. Well, I always say, listen, we don't have castles here, but we've got banana plantations. And this is the kind of venue what we can do to dress a venue like that up and give clients a feel of what the Canary Islands is about. Bananas are extremely well known here, and they're extremely savory. They are much better than the ones you'll find in South America, let me tell you that. But it's a location that works. Being a little bit creative with it, it's a location which people love, they come away from, and we can add entertainment in there to make it all feel like there's a carnival vibe. This, for example, this is my favorite, one of my favorite locations in Gran Canaria. It's the Serenity Salobre. It's riding on the back of a golf course. And it's fantastic for buyouts. It's got a fantastic ballroom, and this is your breakout area, which is spectacular. It's right in the middle of almost Death Valley, and that's the kind of breakout area you'll find there. A lovely location. That same hotel has a few slides I'll show you further up. Gran Canaria, Lanzarote, Tenerife, Fuerteventura, big coastal areas with beach clubs to choose from, to be able to hire exclusively, to decorate, to do whatever we want with. Locations which people generally love to go to. This, for example, this pool is at the Meliá Palacio de Sora in the south of Tenerife. I've thrown this slide in because I want you to realize that you don't need to fill a container of material and bring it over to the Canary Islands for the sake of an event. Everything is here. It's a question of reaching an agreement on what you need, but there are some enormous local festivities here, and all the infrastructure is here. Very specific items are to be brought in sometimes, but that's down to the specific rider or the specific laser show. But generally speaking, everything can be done here, which saves a lot of money in the budget, money which can be dedicated elsewhere. Again, beach clubs galore. This is in Lanzarote. It's in the area of Playa Blanca, where we've held many events over the years. Rockstar events. I love this picture because it shows a bit of what the creativity is all about. We hired a whole bunch of people who were paparazzi So these clients walked down the red carpet feeling like $1 million. Okay, they're salespeople, but they really felt like they were rock stars. It's one of my fondest memories as an event organizer, to see the faces of these people. They really thought they were Michael Jackson going down the red carpet. This is the Serenity Salobri again. It's the top end of the hotel in Gran Canaria. That's the kind of setting you're looking at. And there's a few of those on the islands which we could use. They have an infinity pool, which we've had fashion shows on. And this particular shot is of the ladies trialing the catwalk right through the middle of the pool. The Ritz-Carlton Abama in Tenerife is a sensational location, which I am sure some of you will be familiar with. It has everything on offer a resort could wish for. It's got its own beach, it has its own golf course, and the facility and personnel there are sensational. We've done many events, including this one. Again, I've thrown this in because the infrastructure is there, the tech, the audiovisual is there, and the good vibes we can also bring in terms of bands and DJs and good music. I've thrown this one in because the ladies obviously look good, but that wasn't the point. The point is that Carnival is huge on the Canary Islands. It's the second largest carnival in the world. It's the second largest street party in the world. And it's one which attracts many thousands of people every year. And we have the privilege of being able to use for our events throughout the year. It's a lovely way of adding color. It's a lovely way of adding rhythm, and it's a lovely way of transitioning a lot of the activities we do. And I haven't thrown it in lightly. We've gone from very small productions on smaller groups to extremely large ones. This is the case. This was FedEx out of the United States. And we had 6 meter high, if you see right at the back, 6 meter high carnival queens parading through the dinner venue. All of that coupled with drummers and dancers, it brings life into a large event, because Carnival is all about bringing people to life. We have access to everything imaginable within the Carnival scene to be able to add to an event, and that's my point. It's all here, and it's a lovely way of adding color and a touch of let's call it a touch of rhythm to everything we do. Client profiles. I don't want you to think of the Canary Islands, as many people do, as a place where people go on a 2-week holiday at an all-inclusive resort. We've handled Yahoo, we've handled FedEx for 750 delegates over 6 nights, Yahoo, 1,200 delegates, and these are the household names that we've had over time, who we still have as clients and who we're delighted to work for and have worked for. And it's a small selection of what we've done over the years. The pharma industry, the automotive industry, the sporting industry. As I've mentioned before, universities are very big with us. And of course, the last year and a half, I'd say, software companies have come very much into the whole picture. And there's no pattern either. We have American clients, we have Polish and Russian and German and Scandinavian, and obviously UK-based clients too. The 6 competitive advantages of our destination, I want to drive those home. First of all, we have a 7% tax regime. Let's go into the nitty-gritty of organizing something on the Canary Islands. That brings us direct reduction on your bottom line, as opposed to doing it on mainland Spain or in the UK. Admittedly, you pay the flights to come here, but in the analysis we've done over time, we found that the extra you might pay for the Canary Islands doesn't offset that cost. So 7% is one worth considering when budgeting for an event here. Second of all, health and safety, which has always been an issue, and it's always something at Ten Travel we've been very conscious of, especially in the UK market, because the health and safety protocols are very stringent. But in COVID times, of course, we've had to rethink and take that to the extreme. We have a very solid public health system, but we also have 2 of the largest private medical companies with a base on Tenerife, and they service all the other islands. And I'm talking specifically of Hospiten in the top left-hand corner and Quirón Salud. They provide us with medical attention in-house. We've reached agreements with them to be able to do any sort of testing, PCR, whether that's PCR or antigen testing in the hotels where we work with our events, and they're offering us a fantastic flexibility. They also on standby whenever we have any of our events. The first thing I do when we confirm an event and we have the dates in place and we have the program in place is to give them the heads up formally. I have 100 delegates or I have 500 delegates staying at this hotel. This is our program. This is what we're doing. And if something happens and they get a call from any of my team or from myself, they know that there's a top priority in here. And I wanted to drive that home. I've had 2 events the last 6 weeks, not going to Marrakesh, not going to South Africa, and rescheduling for the Canary Islands precisely for these reasons. The decision makers don't want to risk anything and they'd rather go to a destination which offers the full package. Connectivity, the UK is probably the best connected country in the whole of Europe to the Canary Islands, whether that's with your mainstream carriers through TUI and Jet2 and EasyJet, but you've got obviously Ryanair and the new players come on board. I think Wizz Air is now starting operations from Stansted and Luton, and whatever doesn't connect directly can do so through Barcelona and Madrid onto one of the 2 main airports. Especially in Tenerife, we've got 2 airports, but all the other islands are also connected, whether that's Fuerteventura, Lanzarote, Gran Canaria, or Tenerife. They're all connected directly to UK airports. The smaller islands, admittedly, are not as easy to get to, but a small jump across is possible. And the inter-island connections are sensational, whether that's by ferry or small flights. There's almost I almost call it a shuttle service to the smaller islands from the larger ones. Gran Canaria and Tenerife acting as hubs and then going across. The fast ferries and catamarans are also very, very, very good. And Fred Olsen, which you might have heard of, have invested heavily again. They're bringing out another catamaran out from Australia, which they've just built. So, so there's no problems there. We're very happy with how the islands are connected, and it gives us the option of doing inter-island activities also, and that's one we could discuss if one went into detail. Accommodation options. I read something yesterday. The south of the larger islands, Lanzarote, Gran Canaria, and Tenerife, are considered European-wide as the best 4- and 5-star accommodation hubs in Europe. There's a very high concentration, and let's face it, the Canary Islands are a mass tourist destination in general, and the perception in the UK is that. Let's not beat around the bush. Having said that, the possibility is there to organize an incentive or a conference and guests to come away feeling that they've been to an exclusive resort and an exclusive island, because we've showcased what we want to show them in that tailor-made program. And we don't shy away with it from any event precisely because of that. There is very good basic 4-star infrastructure, but there's super deluxe 5-star also. And that melting pot of different types of accommodation is the basis to any event, as all of you know. Whether that's resorts which are isolated and you need a car or a coach to take people to and from the different venues, or resorts which are right in the center of town. We have many clients who say, I want to be in the center of town. I want my people to be able to walk out, go shopping, have drinks, go to a disco bar, walk out onto the beach in the front promenade and have things to do when they walk out. That is also possible. Last but not least, and it's a cliche, and sometimes I don't even like talking about it because it is a cliche, but I have to drive it home. Why is all of this possible? It's because we've got the weather all year round. And during the summer months, yes, we'll start competing again with Malta, with Cyprus, Sicily, with sensational destinations in the summertime. But as soon as they come into the end of September, October, they start getting those cooler temperatures. And that's where we have a huge competitive advantage. In a relatively short flight, we can offer you the climate, not in itself, it's the climate giving us the platform to be able to do open air events all year, activities all year, swimming all year, and everything outdoors all year, which in COVID times, again, I think will be a big competitive advantage, and something you should consider when organizing as from the coming winter, or at least into the last quarter of this year. Cultural diversity, I want to stress that also. Destinations which are relatively young don't have a track record, and often personnel and staff and the people who operate a group struggle to click into the mentality. I don't find that's the case in the Canary Islands. Locals have been living with tourism for a very long time now, and not only do they speak the language, they click, they know, they understand how North American guests tick and what sort of expectation they have. And I think that is an advantage, never more demonstrated, so that we have a very small French market. And that's because no one speaks French here. And it's not a market that has been especially or particularly well treated. But I can say that completely the opposite of the UK market. So the conclusion is a receptive, open-minded and inclusive set of people here who understand what the event is about once it comes on site, and is able to deliver because they understand the mentality of the people they are taking on board. I'm slowly reaching the end, but I do want to drive this one home, and this is a bomb. I mentioned right at the beginning of the presentation that we constituted an association for the interests of meetings and incentives on the Canary Islands. And we've constituted this association precisely to drive change and to drive, especially to local authorities, the importance of our sector. And we're working on one very specific project as our sort of flagship project, and that is to copy a model which already exists on the Canary Islands for the Film Commission. Namely, the fact that any films which are produced on the Canary Islands are subject to a 50% direct deduction as a tax rebate. That's already happening today on the Canary Islands. The fact that Under the Sea and Clash of the Titans and Battle of the Titans from Hollywood and Elsa Patakis and God knows who have been here doesn't mean, it's not just purely because the islands are beautiful, which they are. It's because the production companies have seen that it's very cheap for them to handle their films here, to produce them here. And all we've done is gone to the regional authorities and said, M.I.C.E want to copy this for our events. Thank you very much. The process is as follows. It's currently sitting in Madrid. It will be sent back throughout this year, and we anticipate legislation to come through towards the end of this year, October, November. If and when this is the case, this is a bomb for you, because it allows you to plan and deduct 50% of your first million turnover on the Canary Islands and 45% when it goes over $1 million turnover. And I think that if we hit the market with this, the Canary Islands will become even more competitive and financially extremely interesting for whoever is organizing M.I.C.E events, especially with a projection over the longer period. And I'll give you one example. I have one client who's already been to the Canary Islands with a group of 300 people in the past, and has already said, if this is the case, I will come to Tenerife, Gran Canaria, Lanzarote over a period of 5 years. I will budget for it, and we can structure our incentive and meetings over the next 5 years, with 3 of them held on the Canary Islands. If I'm going to get back 45% of that turnover for each event I do, I'm with you, Marcos. So I want you to come away from this presentation with that in mind. Trust me, when it gets legislated, we'll be out there on social media spreading the word. But I want you to start considering it, because the probabilities of this happening are very, very high. I stress, not because we are so good, it's because it's a formula that's already being used on the Canary Islands for film productions. All we've done is grab the legislation and adapt it to meetings, incentives, and conferences. and we're expecting our local authorities, and you can imagine the political maneuvers in there, we're expecting the local authorities to legislate in our favor, because as we all know, politicians want to take the picture as quickly as possible and say, listen how well I've done, look what I've done. This is all we're interested in. They can take the photograph, but we want the business. So please bear that one in mind. It's a bombshell. If it comes out, we will be organizing events until we drop in the next couple of years, for obvious reasons. tentravel.info is our website. We keep it very updated on our blog, the latest news, the latest COVID developments. I think you'll find it very useful. And I say here, we're not back because we never left. We launched a video not that long, and all I want to translate is the spirit of our company. When all of this started last year, we looked at each other, and we've kept pushing, we've kept in touch with our clients, we've kept being creative, we've closed deals with new tour operators, we've renegotiated all our contracts, we haven't lost a single client in the process, and we've kept everyone on board, and that's what we'll continue doing. So we were quite wary of the melancholy piano music associated to COVID, and we rocked it. Now let me give you 30 seconds of that video we did, and I'll end on that note.